Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Getting Personal with Parkinson's, a Facebook Live monthly conversation series. I'm Whitney Chapman, the programming and production coordinator for the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan's Edmund J. Safra Parkinson's Wellness Program, which is supported by New York's largest healthcare provider, Northwell Health. I am proud to say that for over 15 years, the JCC has been hosting programs for individuals living with Parkinson's. And you can find out about these programs by visiting our website at www.mmjccm.org/Parkinson's. And I'll put that link below in the comments section for you. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. Glad to have you here. This program is for anyone who is living with Parkinson's or whose life has been impacted by Parkinson's, those with diagnosis and those who just care and love people who are living with PD. Our intention here is to put a face to Parkinson's, to help demystify it and to give you stories of inspiration and resources so that you can feel good about living with Parkinson's and making the most of your life. You'll be meeting individuals living with PD as well as experts who are working in the Parkinson's field. Today, I want to let you know that if you want to be bold enough and be a guest on this show, I would welcome the chance to meet you and have that conversation. If you know of someone I should interview, please don't hesitate to pass their information along to me. And you can reach me at wchapman, that's WCHAPMAN, at mmjccm.org. And again, I'll put that link in the chat for you as well. Today, I am really excited to introduce to you a longtime friend of mine and today's guest, Megha Nancy Buttenheim. Megha has been a yogini and a wellness professional for over the 20 years that I've known her. She is an incredibly exuberant and vivacious person, and you're going to see that in just a moment. I'm excited to share her story because not only is she a passionate educator, but how she got into being involved in the Parkinson's community is kind of an interesting story. So in a moment, I want to share with you a conversation that Megha and I had about her teaching and about her program, Let Your Yoga Dance. And we will then meet up after the conversation and I'll answer any questions you may have. I want to let you know that during this conversation, Megha gives a whole lot of resources and inspirational ideas. And I want you not to worry that we're going to put all those links into the comments section below. So you can just sit back and, as they say, enjoy the show. So I'll meet up with you after the conversation. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to my conversation with Megha Nancy Buttenheim. It is my pleasure to finally get to have this chat with a dear old friend of mine. Not that she's old, but we've just known each other in the course of time for quite a while. Megha Nancy Buttenheim, welcome to Getting Personal with Parkinson's.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
It is so good to finally get to do this conversation with you. I can't wait. Let me start by asking you, how did you get interested in working with people living with Parkinson's? What is your relationship to Parkinson's disease?
Well, that's such an interesting question. I'm a little unique, I think. I know that many teachers, people who have been involved with the Parkinson's community, have done so because they might have had a relative who had Parkinson's. Now, actually, I do now, but I didn't then. So it's now I have a lot of expertise I can offer my 95-year-old aunt who's been newly diagnosed. But my story is really different. I used to work at the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, teaching yoga, dance, let your yoga dance daily. And back in about 2006, I noticed that people after class were coming up and saying, I have Parkinson's. I go, oh, and enough people started doing that I literally looked up at the sky and said, are you trying to tell me something? Am I supposed to work with people with Parkinson's? So I actually did. I took some training with David Leventhal, who is the director of dance for PD right in Brooklyn. Of course, I had a lot of wealth of information anyway, but I didn't really teach much in chairs. So I took my own work, put it into chairs, and then started working with these students of mine. And David Leventhal and I actually co-led a class at Kripalu way back 15 years ago. And that was the beginning of my then weekly classes, which I've been doing ever since. It's a tricky thing because I'm teaching people who are in wheelchairs. I'm teaching people who've just been newly diagnosed. You might experience that too. Sometimes it's a little eclectic, but I want everybody to feel welcome and very, very safe. So I hope that gives you a little tiny bit of how I started.
It does. You mentioned, so your program is called Let Your Yoga Dance. And for someone who doesn't know anything about you or what Let Your Yoga Dance is, tell us a little bit about the program.
All right. Well, as I said, I've been with the Kripalu community for 35 years. That's a long time. And over the time, I started taking yoga and dance and bringing it together. There already was a dance form there, but I really wanted to really bump it up and bring yoga, bring qigong, bring the chakras. Now, for those of you who don't know what the chakras are, they're the energy centers of our body, these spinning wheels of energy that are really very, very powerful. And that's the basis of my work. We dance through the centers of energy, like focusing on the ground, focusing on our pelvic area, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. And I have woven a way of bringing music through the chakras so that all of us in the Let Your Yoga Dance community, we can hear a song anywhere and go, oh, that's chakra 4. Oh, that's chakra 3. We have our own little we have our own vocabulary that only we know about, which is really fun. So the work itself, the mission of Let Your Yoga Dance is to spread joy and consciousness throughout the world by transmitting body health, brain health, heart health, and soul health to all populations. And so that's why when the Parkinson's world came to me, I thought, well, I guess I'm really now uplifting this mission big time because it's to all populations. Even before I started teaching the Parkinson's world, I always put chairs around. So for people who might want to come in, but I don't know, I've got a broken hip, I've got a broken leg, I can't, I'm tired. So, okay, so dance in the chair. And so it's a very loving practice. And I have found over the decades that it keeps evolving. And that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show you, actually. I'd like you to do it with me.
Okay.
So we're coming into a little Parkinson's class for just about maybe 3 minutes. Okay? How's that sound? All right. So hello, everybody. So let's start by taking a nice deep breath in. Reach your arms as far out and then give yourself a big hug as you exhale. And feel free to exhale as loudly as you can. And I'm going to put this class of 1 million people on mute so you can make as much noise as you want. Inhale, reach your arms, and exhale, sigh it out. And remember, we need to use our throat in the Parkinson's world, right? Because it can get a little tight. So open it up, inhale, and exhale. Now, I'm standing right now, but you can be sitting. Just take your fingers and shake them out, and then shake your wrists. We're going to do what I love to call a synovial shake. So we'll shake your elbows, your shoulders, as if they're monarch butterflies flying all the way through your body. Are you breathing? Have you stopped? Keep breathing in and out. Just give them a good shake. And this gets that lovely fluid to bathe your joints. Now, if you're sitting, no problem. But if you're standing, grab onto something. Grab onto the wall or whatever. And now what we're going to do is go down to the hip, the knee, the ankle, and the toes. Just shake them out a little bit. Inhale, exhale, and then you can step and go to the other side. And now I'm going to come to sitting. So I recommend for this that you do as well, because this is the quieter part of a Let Your Yoga Dance class. This is called the moving yoga cool down, and it's called the moon salutation. Chandra. Chandra means moon. Chandra namaskar. Namaskar is salutation. Now, at some point, I might have you raise your arms, but remember, you are the boss. Your arms only might want to go this far or this far, or maybe up high. That's great. Doesn't matter. You might want to bring your hands to your shoulders. So feel what works for you. If you've got a frozen shoulder, you don't want to be raising those arms up, but you do want to be wiggling. You want to let that body move and find its way. So we're going to be honoring the moon, that divine, sacred feminine. I'm going to put on a little piece of music. And again, only bring the arms as far up as you would like to go. This is why it's called Let Your Yoga Dance. Okay, here we go. Turn it up a little bit. And then we go over to the side. And then step the legs out, 5-pointed star. And goddess and star. Now, right elbow down to your thigh. Does it work to raise your arm up? Maybe not. Maybe here. Maybe here. And back to the star. Turn the corners of your mouth up. And then other side. And think about the moon. Take a breath. Hold the moon in your arms. And then raise them if it feels good. Bring the legs a little closer together. Half moon. And then make a big full moon of your arms. Hands in prayer. And now I'm going to come up. You can stay seated if you like. We're coming into moving metta. Metta, loving kindness. Reach your arms out and then back. May you be happy as I wish to be happy. May you be peaceful as I wish to be peaceful. And then come to the other side. May you be happy as I wish to be happy. May you be free as I wish to be free. And then make a huge, big circle around your body. And then one more time, lift the arms up. And if it feels good to keep them there, do for a moment. And just imagine that you are bringing the moon, the stars, and the sun all the way through your body. So gently let the hands come down over the head, the face, all that beautiful celestial light just shimmering, showering down through your body. And then when the arms can go no further, anything that your body no longer needs, just shake it out. The earth will gobble it up and turn it into a garden. And thank you. There we go. That's a little micro bit of a Let Your Yoga Dance practice, the slower part.
That was beautiful. And it felt accessible and easy. And I loved how you asked us to sort of smile in your own way. And it just brought joy. Like it brought joy to my body as I was doing it. So thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. And actually, it's interesting you should say that, because a lot of my students do say that. They say at the end, when they come into the class, or sometimes feeling the weight of the world and their body is miserable and they're unhappy and depressed, and by the end, it's a whole different thing. There usually is a big, as Barbara Fredrickson always says, broadening and building of positivity, because we're together, even on Zoom. It works great on Zoom. Who
Now, if
knew?
someone wants to take a class, how do we find Let Your Yoga Dance classes?
Well, I have a website, MeghaNancyButtenheim.com.
Okay.
And that will take you to places. And I have, right now, I'm only for the summer teaching private Let Your Yoga Dance for Parkinson's classes for the summer. But then I'll start my regular routine again. If you're interested in my newsletter, you can sign on for that. And that, I write every few weeks about what's going on. I have trainings. I just led a Let Your Yoga Dance teacher training for special populations, which is based on my Parkinson's work. So people who want to teach people who have Parkinson's can take the training and learn how to do that, which is it's really fun and uplifting. My students call it God's work. There we go again with that God word, but it's very wonderful
I can tell
practice.
you are extremely passionate about what you do, and it exudes in everything you do for as long as I have known you. So this is really wonderful. Now,
Oh,
earlier
thank
you
you.
mentioned positive psychology, and you are on the faculty of the Wholebeing Institute, which, if people are associated with the JCC, you know that for many years, for the last couple of years, we've had a partnership with them in having the Lunch and Learn series. And I know, Megha, you've been on that several times. But how has your education and training within the Wholebeing Institute, as an educator, how does that help people with Parkinson's? What does that bring to the table?
Wow. The bottom line is people with Parkinson's are people, and positive psych positive psychology helps everybody. It's such a beautiful thing, and I am blessed that I got to be there right from the get go with Tal Ben Shahar and Megan at the Whole Being Institute, and I got to really create embodied positive psychology. So the work of positive psychology, didn't have much any movement, movement in it. So I said to Tal, "You need me." You need me. And he said, okay. So, what I've been doing for these 10 years, it's been 10 years, is just pulling from all aspects that I can. For example, Cheek sent me hi, God bless his soul, who just passed away recently. His work was on flow. So I took his work and I go, okay, now we're all going to focus on flow. And of course, gratitude is probably one of the biggest ones. People with Parkinson's often, might not remember that gratitude is a really, really important thing because they're suffering. That's a really tough disease. So we can do gratitude dances. And, we have the research. The other thing about positive psychology is that it's brought in all this research that I didn't have access to that in the olden days. So when I said, this works, this is yoga, this is, millennia years old, they go, meh. But now, Sonia Lubomirsky has the how of happiness, and she does great research on gratitude. And Barbara Fredrickson, I'm just going to throw all these books up at you. Love 2.0. These are academics. They have done massive amounts of research. So for me, working with positive psychology is just heavenly because I can go, anything I'm doing, I've got research to back it up. And I think that's made my Parkinson's students very happy. Positive psychology is the science of happiness, but it's also the science of resilience. And I feel that people with Parkinson's, they have to bump up their resilience quotient enormously to withstand, the toughness of what they're facing. And so this work, no brainer. It's just wonderful. We do a lot of resilience dances. And I think talking about it, and you and I have spoken about this before, Whitney, that talking about it is great. Journaling about it is wonderful. But getting it literally in ourselves, it's the best. So, do you want any more, or that's sort of where I
No, I
was
mean,
going with?
you and I are both movers, and we. I think I can speak for you and say that I'm not someone who's great at sitting still for long periods of time, and I know that when I went through my own certificate in positive psychology training, that it's great to understand a concept, and it was great to learn the research of, simple things like with going back to gratitude, that it takes 5 or more positive thoughts and positive statements and positive emotions
True.
to negate a negative one.
Right.
It's I love this one, 5-to-1 ratio. And,
Exactly.
when we think about gratitude, some people think it's, oh, I won the lottery, or no, gratitude can be as simple as,
Right.
I got out of bed this morning and I could feel my feet on the floor, and,
Yeah.
I have
And
food.
I have a I have a lucky bamboo right here.
Exactly. As you mentioned, when you're going through something that throws you the curveball, and life on its own throws you a curveball. And when you get a diagnosis with Parkinson's, which is unique to every single human being who has that diagnosis, it's how are you going to take that curveball and still live a life and have a great
Mm.
life and a quality of life? And I think that uh, you're being able to blend both the need to move, which we know science says is really important to help deter the growth or the continuation of Parkinson's challenges, and to know that there's a mental piece of it from positive psychology, to have the science to say these two things are both important, and you don't have to just do one or do the other, but there are ways that you can merge them. Um,
Absolutely.
Let me ask you
Absolutely.
this. For someone who is living with Parkinson's,
Mhm.
what are 3 things that you would want them to know or you would want to share?
Mm. Okay. Um, okay. The first thing, I mean, even 15 years ago when I started out, there wasn't that much information. I'm Michael J. Fox, big famous. Now, oh my heavens, it's just huge. It's really incredible how much support there is. So I really think that um, letting anybody know who's just been diagnosed, you're not alone, and there are a million things. There are a million things that you can do. You can do boxing. You can do bike riding. You can do let your yoga dance. You can do just so many things. So basically, do what works for you. So, the first thing is there is support. There is support for you out there in the world, online, in person. COVID's doing its thing, but you can do one or the other. Again, I think I would bring in positive psychology, and again, think of it as the science of resilience so that you can build your foundation rather than go the other way. I know some newly diagnosed people who just sort of want to sit in the chair. It's like, don't move, move. You can't move enough. That's one of the biggest things about dopamine loss. We've really got to move the body, even if it's a wiggle. I love wiggling. Those are the first things that come to mind.
So I live in New York and I teach, as you know, yoga for Parkinson's, and I'm often doing those wiggles and shakes and I tell my students, do it in public. I said, because the thing about it, if you do that in public in New York, people will give you a lot of space on the subway. They'll give you a lot of space when you're standing in line at the grocery store, like
Exactly.
as you mentioned, that at the time, 15 years ago, movement was cutting edge in terms of introducing it to people with Parkinson's. They thought, if you got a diagnosis prior to that, they would say, take it easy, don't fall, just be quiet. And Dr. DeRocco, who's our medical director, as well as others in the field, were starting to say, I think it's about movement. And, our program got started because Dr. DeRocco felt that if people were in community and if they were connecting and moving, that it would help stave off the effects that can happen from Parkinson's disease. And I love how positive psychology is becoming more prevalent, and the idea of just, enjoying life and how important that
Exactly.
is. How
Yeah.
important that is.
And I'm also, thinking already, it's October's coming up, and we've got our JCC and Wholebeing Institute reunion time, and I'm going to be there. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's like, okay, what's the music I'm going to be playing whenever I do that, whenever I'm rehearsing. I'm uplifted. And of course, my whole life is a rehearsal. So I get to be uplifted a lot.
The Parkinson's community is one of the first, what I'm going to call medical communities that really started to look holistically. That it wasn't just about your neurologist, it wasn't just about your caregivers, who I'm going to talk about, ask you a question about in a moment, but creating, as you mentioned, that team, that support team of people close to you, people that are expended, that have extended, that have skills that can help you live your best life. And that was when I first came to working in this community, that was one of the newer things that was happening in the medical community, that they were really looking at it holistically and encouraging people to have conversations with physical therapists and occupational therapists and social workers, so that you really had the support and community around you. And you're mentioning in your own life how that is something that sustains you and fulfills you. So let's talk about for a moment the caregivers. What advice, information, what would you want someone who is a care partner or a caregiver, or someone who is just in that circle for someone with PD, what would you want them to know?
A caregiver. Wow. I would say first and foremost, self-care. It's essential. And we in our lives, having been on the planet for, a certain amount of decades, we all have to be caregivers for somebody, most likely. But to just forget about myself, and like when mom and dad were spinning down in their 90s, I had to remember, it was very difficult to remember to take care of myself. So it's like filling it up with gasoline if it's a car, right? We do better sometimes for our car than we do for ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally. And also for me, music is a huge thing. If you like music, caregivers, put it on. It'll bring it forth, that oxytocin. And caregivers are working so hard, so hard. It's really, my best friend, her husband has Parkinson's now, and she tells me her daily life, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge for her. And she is taking a little meditation course online, for people who are caregivers for those with Parkinson's or other diseases, and it's helping her enormously. So I think that's really important. Another thing would be getting into nature. Even if you're in New York, you can go to Central Park, or if nothing else, get a little plant and get a flower. Like I have a wonderful tiger lily over there. And if you can just smell these beautiful senses, really open up the senses. And I do that with my Parkinson's students, but a caregiver too, because it brings us in the moment. And when we're in the moment, which is totally yoga, when we're in the moment, we're not going to be going out there, what's going to happen? Or, oh, that thing happened back there. Right now, everything is okay. Right now, I just took a breath. Right now, I wiggled. Right now I looked over at my loved one and they're having a good moment. So being as present as possible, which is literally the practice of yoga, and it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you can do things that are fun to get you in the moment, that's even better, because then more likely you'll do it again. Like, oh wait, I love that song. It made me happy. Let me play it again. And then also I would just say, to listen to your loved one, and not try to make things your way. Now, if they say, I never want to move again, that's a problem. You don't listen to that too much, because they do need to move. But, maybe you could move with them, but just really listen as lovingly and calmly as possible to whatever they're going through. That would be so useful for them. So those are some of the things that I pop up with as far as
Those are great.
someone, caregiving. Yeah.
What has PD taught you?
Oh, that every human is even more precious than I knew. That people with physical difficulties can create miracles, either minor ones or huge ones, also how blessed I am. I get caught sometime with, oh, this hip, I'm like, what's going to happen with my hip? And then I go, are you kidding? You know, Gratitude. So it's bumped up my gratitude quotient enormously. But also just thankful for them. I think people with PD are the greatest people in the whole wide world. They're really wonderful. I haven't met anybody with PD who isn't fabulous. So, um, anyway, so those are some things I think of.
You, we haven't spoken about this yet, but you have written a book.
Oh, right.
And
I have
I
indeed.
would love for you to take a moment and just tell us about your book. And we'll put the link in the comment section so people can find it. But tell us about your book.
Thank you. I wrote the book thanks to Tal Ben Shahar. I can't believe it. I've been writing it for like 10 years, slowpoke, and 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 in the midst of our positive psychology certification, he said, "You've got to write that book. You've got to finish that book. I will write the foreword if you do it." And I went, okay. Like when Tal says something, I never say no. So I did. So it's called Expanding Joy. Let Your Yoga Dance Embodying Positive Psychology. And it really was the first book in the positive psychology world that was written about the body. And also the SPIRE methodology, which was brand new back then. And those of you who have been to the JCC Wholebeing Institute Lunch and Learns know probably that SPIRE is the great acronym in the Wholebeing Institute, standing for spiritual, physical, relational, emotional. I forgot one: spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. And when you put those together, you also have a pretty darn wonderful life going on for yourself. Just the way I was talking about the chakras, the chakras are a great riverbank. Well, Spire is too. And I wrote about Spire in the book because I do a thing sometimes called little IN, inspired Let Your Yoga Dance. So I created that a long time ago, and it's been great fun. So what I love most about the book, though, is that it's actually a book that is experiential, because I created 14 I call them the movement takeaways, which in the book, it tells you how to go onto my website and download them, so that then when you're reading, it says takeaway number 1, then you push the button, and then I'm I'm leading you in a movement piece so that you can actually let your yoga dance through the book, literally. I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
I think that's
So,
cool too. I think that's great.
yeah.
Um, is there anything else that you want to share or impart to either someone living with Parkinson's or for the people who are around them and who love someone living with Parkinson's?
Well, I think, the first thing I thought of was Dan Tomasulo and hope, learned hopefulness, that, yep, this is a challenging thing. Parkinson's is challenging, but there is so much to hope for. And again, just owning it, embracing what is now, that you can go forward with a lot of grace and a lot of joy. And I don't want to be an advertisement, but I have to say I do have a product that I think is for it's wonderful for the Parkinson's community. It's called Moving with Your Strengths. And as you know, Whitney, the positive psychology world has come up with an amazing organization called VIA, Values in Action, and millions of people use that organization, and they've created 24 character strengths under 6 what are called virtues. And of course, in true movement lover that I am, I took them all and I put them to movement and music, so that you could actually look at your character strengths, gratitude being one, love, hope, but then you can move it, get it into your body. So I think moving with your strength is a really cool thing for anybody with PD or not. So I'll just say that and then stop talking about my stuff. But I do love it. So
That's fun.
The via character strengths, we will also include the link there. There is a very short online questionnaire that you can fill out. And at the end of that questionnaire, it gives you a ranking of those strengths. And you get to see what you're good at and what you're strong for, and the areas that are difficult for you. And there's lots of resources there about how to boost that. But going back just one more time, how I think one of the themes of our conversation today has been the idea of resiliency, and that when you have a diagnosis with Parkinson's, you could let that take you down the rabbit hole. And I think there's a healthy response, that would be a response for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And which is another yes, and you also have a life. You have had passions, and maybe you've worked and had a career. You've had family and friends and things that you're interested in. And while the diagnosis of Parkinson's may change your capacity or ability to do things as you have done them, it doesn't mean that you still can't live a good life. That there may be new ways of doing things. And, my experience, because I have taken a Let Your Yoga Dance class or two with Megha over the years, is that when you give yourself that permission to be in this moment and to move and to let the sensations of your body be what they are, I have always felt better. I may have started the class in one attitude or energy, and I always end up in a different place. And that different place for me has always been a better one. Whether I just
That
am
is
more
true.
upright, or my shoulders and my body doesn't feel as sticky and stuck. But for the students who are living with Parkinson's, it's just, I just want to say there's no, like, I can't put a gold stamp on it and say you will get this if you do this, but I can tell you that from the experience that you will probably 99.9%, I can guarantee that you will feel better. And
Yeah.
so I want to thank you for listening to the universe when it started bringing people with Parkinson's into your classes, and realizing when they would say, this is helpful to me, that you didn't just say, okay, thank you, but you've really harnessed your intuition, your talents, and move them in a way that is now impacting hopefully thousands of people. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your gifts, and thank you for all the energy. This is one of the most energetic interviews I have had in this series. So
Oh,
I just
oh,
love,
that's nice.
you're just vibrant. You just
Oh,
burst with the energy that's coming across the Zoom screen, I'm sure.
oh.
And
Well, same back at you, girlfriend. I've had a really nice time with you. It's so good, and I can't wait to see you again in October. So,
sounds great. Thank you,
thank you.
Megha.
Wow. Megha is probably one of the most energetic and vibrant people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. And she's just a really good soul. I hope you have walked away with some wonderful tips and some inspirations today from her conversation. And everything that she talked about, we have put in the comment section below for you. Let me just remind you that if you are interested in participating in the Parkinson's Wellness Program here at the Marlene Meyerson JCC, or to start even with our fall sampler series, which is actually starting this week, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to get you involved. If you email me at wchapman, WCHAPMAN, at mmjccm.org. And as Megan said, we want you to know you're not alone. We have lots of opportunities to support you and get you engaged. We also want to continue this series and bring you stories of inspiration and information. So if you or someone you know, or there's a topic that we should cover or talk about, please let me know. I want this to be a helpful resource for you. The next time we're going to meet is going to be in late October, because we have all these Jewish holidays. But if you join me on Monday, October 24th, you will be meeting Jan Rose. Jan is a person living with Parkinson's and also someone who works in the human resource field. And we'll be talking, among other things, about her journey of finding that balance between work and managing Parkinson's. It's going to be a great conversation, so I hope you'll join us. In the meantime, if I don't see you until then, my early wishes for a happy new year. And as we traditionally say, May you be inscribed in the book of life. Now, my father has a bit of humor, so he always adds the line, may you be inscribed in the book of life, but may your story be so interesting that they make a movie about your part. So, here's to a nice fall. I look forward to seeing you in October. Take care, and I'll see you soon.